The rain had been falling for hours, drumming against the roof of Alex Carter's rusted sedan like skeletal fingers. His wipers squealed across the glass, pushing sheets of water aside just long enough to reveal the looming silhouette at the end of the road. The old St. Dymphna's hospital. He hadn't meant to end up here. The GPS had died 20 minutes back, his phone battery choked at 2%, and every other turn seemed to lead deeper into a maze of forgotten streets. Now, in the orange glare of his headlights, the hospital rose like a blackened tooth against the night sky. It was supposed to have been shut down in the 70s, condemned after a fire in the psychiatric wing. He remembered the news stories, whispers of patient mistreatment, bodies going missing. But more than anything, he remembered the rumors. The place was haunted. He could have kept driving, but the rain was thick enough to make the road vanish ahead. The glowing vacancy of the hospital's half-collapsed main entrance felt almost like an invitation. Inside, the air was colder. His flashlight beam cut through floating motes of dust, landing on walls discolored by water damage and something darker. A smell hit him, a mix of mold and iron, faint but growing stronger the deeper he went. That's when he saw it. The hallway stretched ahead for what felt like hundreds of feet. The fluorescent lights overhead flickered weakly, buzzing like angry insects. Long, jagged shadows danced on the walls, distorting the shapes painted there. Strange, looping symbols scrawled in something brown and dry. At the far end, just barely visible through the haze of mist clinging to the floor, was a wheelchair tipped onto its side. And just beyond that, something moved. It was human-shaped, but not human. Its limbs bent at wrong angles, its head lolling as though too heavy for its neck. Alex's breath caught. The thing twitched once, then melted back into the shadows like water down a drain. Every instinct screamed to leave, but some invisible thread seemed to pull him deeper into the hallway. He told himself it was curiosity, but deep down, he knew it was something else. Something in the hospital wanted him to follow. Alex stepped forward, his sneakers sinking slightly into the damp linoleum. The flicker of the lights overhead fell into a rhythm. Buzz, flash, darkness, buzz, flash, darkness. It almost sounded like breathing. The hallway smelled stronger now. It was coppery, metallic, as if the air itself had been steeped in blood. The mist curled at his ankles, icy and deliberate, sliding against his skin like fingers. Somewhere ahead, a sound broke the silence. A voice. At first it was faint, like someone murmuring behind a closed door. Alex froze, straining to listen. The words were impossible to make out, but the tone was unmistakable, pleading. "Please, I can't. Not again." He swallowed hard. The sound wasn't coming from a room. It was coming from the mist. The air thickened and the voice grew sharper. But now there were two voices, overlapping, speaking in broken fragments. "They took my eyes. No more injections, please." Alex's flashlight flicked and dimmed, and for the briefest second, he thought he saw faces in the mist. Pale, stretched, their mouths open in silent screams. The symbols on the walls seemed different now. They were still brown, still dry, but they pulsed faintly in the light, as though painted in something alive. His beam caught on one that looked like an eye with a slit pupil. Beneath it, the plaster bulged, as if something beneath the wall was trying to push its way through. He backed up a step, and his shoe scraped against something. The tipped-over wheelchair was closer than it had been a moment ago. Alex's stomach lurched. He was sure it had been at least 20 feet ahead. Now, it was barely 10. The voices fell silent. Then, all at once, the mist surged forward, swallowing the far end of the hall. And in that white, suffocating cloud he saw them, dozens of distorted figures, their heads jerking in unnatural spasms, their eyes nothing but black pits. They didn't walk toward him. They floated, their forms blurring at the edges like static on an old TV screen. One figure broke ahead of the others, drifting close enough for Alex to see the gash that ran across its throat. It opened its mouth, and the sound that came out was a rasping whisper, inches from his ear. "You shouldn't be here." The light snapped off. Alex spun around. The entrance was gone. Behind him stretched more hallway, identical, endless. The mist thickened, symbols on the walls pulsing red. Figures closed in, their limbs bending wrong, their whispers threading into his thoughts. Stay. Become one of us. He ran, but the tipped wheelchair appeared again and again, as if the hall was folding around him. His flashlight died. Cold hands gripped his arms, pulling him toward a wall that bulged and split like a mouth. Inside, the symbols writhed. The mist surged, swallowing his scream. When the lights flickered back on, the hall was empty. The wheelchair sat upright, and on the wall, a new red symbol dripped fresh,